The Malone Commuter Podcast, Episode 3. Oh, it's a bright and sunny day. It's Friday. Oh my goodness. Pay me. I don't go to work until I see that the check cleared now. Alright, in the Ford Escape, 82,077 miles. And we were talking, I was telling my life story. I'm not going to use the dangly microphone thing. I'm just going to speak up. I ordered a $12 lapel mic for, it's like, somebody in the comments suggested I get it's called a linear lapel mic, and there was one on Amazon for $12. It says, it's for vloggers and bloggers. I said, okay, $12, how can we go wrong? I saw some YouTube tutorials about it, or not tutorials, but like reviews on it, and heard some of the audio. It's okay, so we'll see. That'll be here today, so I guess, I don't know if I'm going to have to work tomorrow. Excuse me. If I work tomorrow, Saturday, which I don't think I will, but I don't know, then I'll use it, but yeah, the next podcast we'll have the lapel mic, and we'll see how that goes. But all right, so my life story. Yes, we love to reminisce, don't we? Loving it. So I think we'll pick up where we left off sometime in junior high school. Yes, I was a young lad making my way through the world, and I guess we'll just go to high school. So high school, oh man, high school. Everybody's got stories from high school. High school was crazy. That's when I really formed my friends and met some great people. And you know, the friends I met in high school, I'm still friends to this day with, which is really nice. It's good to have a good group of friends. We hang out every once in a while. So high school, I know somebody asked about, did you play any sports? I didn't really play any sports. The only, I guess you could call it a sport, was golf. I was on the golf team. And the golf team was great. My one friend, Kurt, as you know, became my best friend. He was a year ahead of me. So when I was a freshman, he was a sophomore. And we started playing golf, and he broke his collarbone. And we both got cut that year. So it was my freshman year and his sophomore year, because he had a broken collarbone. I had no excuse. I was just bad, because that's when we first started playing. And the golf team's great because for practice, they say, hey, go play 9 holes of golf. It's free at the local Park District golf course. So instead of like playing football, because it was the same time of year as football, it was in, I believe it was like the beginning of the year. So yeah, instead of like doing 2-a-days and doing some squat thrusts and some drills, all we did was go play golf. And it was free, so it was a good way to play golf for free. We played golf literally during the summer every single day. The local golf course, it's a great golf course. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was kept up really well. The condition was really good. And so they had these big lockers, so we would keep our golf clubs there at the golf course, and then we would just ride our bike to the golf course every single day in the summer. And to be honest, it did kind of keep us out of trouble. We got in less trouble because of it. We still got in trouble, but it was nice. So we didn't have, you know, we would buy a season pass over the summer, which was pretty cheap. I think our parents helped us with it, but if you're like a young kid and you're not riding a golf cart, it was pretty cheap. Nowadays the course season pass pretty expensive, but So yeah, we would ride our bikes at the golf course every single day and play at least 18 holes of golf, at least. Sometimes we'd play an extra 9, but those are some really good times, and we would keep score, and I would save all of our scorecards. I even have to this day still like a little box full of most of the scorecards that we had. And that's when I got pretty good at golf. I mean, I was never like a scratch golfer, but I was pretty decent considering we're playing every single day. You got to get good at something eventually when you play every day. So then sophomore year, my sophomore year, I made the team. I made the team, and so you travel around, certain times of the week, whatever the schedule was, you'd go to different golf courses and play. It was a lot of fun. I played, I think, just a couple of meets. They call it meets. A couple of meets when I was in sophomore on the varsity team. Other than that, I mean, I wasn't that good, but the problem is the whole golf team wasn't that good. We had a couple of ringers. That was really about it. And then obviously when I'm a junior and senior, I played exclusively on the varsity team. But like I said, I wasn't like spectacular or anything. I held my own most weekends or most meets. But it was just fun because you'd all get on the bus and head on over to the different golf courses. And there is a story that, so the big school buses, right? And they have those emergency exits in the roof of the bus. Well, the big buses, they have 2 of them. One near the front and one near the back. And one time we were out, it was a golf meet, and the way it works is that depending on when you tee off, there's a lot of waiting around at the end of it. If you tee off first or second, if you're in the first group of people teeing off first, well, you're done first, right? So there's nothing to do but just hang out. Most times we just hang out on the bus. And so there I was, we were just hanging out in the bus, and we, boys will be boys. And I was like, we were sitting in the bus. I was like, well, what if I bet you I can go up through one of the emergency exits, go across the bus, and then down into the other emergency exit. So being the idiot that I am, I did that. And now when you're on top of a big school bus, these things sit 20, 30 feet up in the air. These things are huge. So apparently when you're up on top of a school bus, you're very visible from a far distance. And one of my coaches happened to see me he was out somewhere on the golf course, and he must have looked over and he saw me on top of the school bus. So when he came back, I was in big trouble. I don't remember the consequences. I think I just got yelled at, and I'm like, okay, well, I can take it. So yeah, I don't remember any like serious consequences from that. But yeah, that was a stupid prank that I did. It was kind of dumb, but the good times were had by all, really. And so yeah, golf was great, and we still play golf to this day. Obviously not every day, but I try to get out, half a dozen times a year or so. It's really slowed down in the last, 3 or 4 years. But we're actually planning on my one friend organizes a golf trip every single year in Michigan. So I think it's in August this year. I missed last year. This is going to be the 3rd annual golf trip. But I missed last year because I got married and we were doing honeymoon stuff, and I had already taken too much time off of work. But so yeah, I'm back at it this year, so I'm super excited. Can't wait for that. But yeah, high school was great. I don't know. I don't really remember most of it. I was only there half the time. Unbelievable. So, yeah, the one thing is that I had to take geometry. It was a semester, a half of a year. I had to take geometry for a semester 3 times. 3 times. Not because I'm retarded, but because I just never showed up to the class. And if you don't show up to the class, you would get what they call, you get like stepped out of the class. So if you missed a day with no excuse, that's 1 step. And then if you get 4 steps, then they take you out of the class, and no matter what your grade is, you would fail. You know, I would get like a C or a B. I'd be getting like a C or a B in the class, and if I didn't show up for 3 or 4 times, then they're just like, oh, you failed, try again next semester. I'm like, what the heck? So that was always the kind of the running gag, like, oh, you're taking geometry again, huh? Yeah, can't quite figure out that rhombus. What the hell's a parallelogram? What? A what? So yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020. I should have taken high school a little bit more serious. But when you got your own car and you drive to school and you can just walk right out the front door, go get yourself a cheeseburger at Wendy's and go hang out and do whatever with your friends, well, what the hell, you know? Go get some cigarettes, you know? So yeah, I should have taken high school a little bit more seriously, but oh well. But yeah, we got in a bunch of trouble. It's just one of those things, you know? You're young, you got your own car, you got a little independence, you know, and I had my first car was a 1985 Buick LeSabre 2-door, brown in color. This thing was brown. No, I think the official color was like maroon, but it was so faded. It was brown. Let's not kid ourselves. It was like a baby puke brown in color car. The boat is what we called it. You Google that 1985 Buick LeSabre 2-door. It was the 2-door, and those doors were at least 4 foot long on that sucker. And it was like literally driving around with, like, it was like a living room on wheels, like 2 couches on wheels, man. That thing was so comfy. That thing, man, if I get older, I would love to buy an old one and pay someone to fix it up and what do they call it? Restore. I'd love to pay someone to restore an old 85 Buick LeSabre and just drive around. Those things are awesome. Oh my gosh, I wish I never would have got rid of it. Although I did beat the crap out of it by hitting garbage cans, and I broke the side mirror off from hitting a garbage can. I tell you what, those things with those big chrome bumpers on the front of them, oh, the garbage would just explode. Good times were had by all, definitely, in the Buick LeSabre. We'd fit 6 deep. We'd be driving around 6 deep, and we just drive around. We did a lot of driving around and just kind of chilling. That's when gas was cheap, and, you know, you'd go. It's funny because back in the day, you'd go to the gas station and you would put like $4 of fuel in the car, and it's not like it would fill it up or anything. It would just give you enough fuel to drive around for, you know, 3-4 hours with all your friends. But yeah, that was an awesome car. My dad bought the car, and then one day he sold it. So I was like, okay, thanks. No. But when I turned 16, everyone's all hyped up when they turn 16. They're like, yeah, gonna get me my license, you know, gonna start driving. When I turned 16, I was like, hey, Mom and Dad, can you take me to the DMV? I'm gonna go get my license, you know? And they're like, why do you need a license? Do you have a car? I said, no. It's like, well, you need a car before you get a license. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? So then my dad started shopping around for a car, and he found one. I think it was like $400 for my Buick LeSabre. Dude, best car I've ever had. Best car I've ever had. So then, yeah, so it was probably like, I don't know when I got the car. it was months and months after I turned 16 before I even got my license, because I didn't have a car. And I was like, thanks for springing that one on me, Mom and Dad. But hey, it taught me a lesson, you know. So yeah, you need a car before you get a license. and then you learn about insurance. Oh my gosh, and then maintenance costs. Oh man, that's part of growing up. That's no fun, you know. So yeah, getting through high school. I did graduate high school. I had to take a summer school class to make it so I could graduate on time with all my friends. Yeah, so I had to take a summer school, which was interesting. It was okay. It wasn't bad, actually. I was with all the misfits, you know. Oh, my mom's a crack whore. Yeah, oh, geez, well, that's great. Like, I think I found myself in the wrong crowd here. No, it wasn't that bad, but yeah, I had to take summer school, and there were some people there in summer school that were in my regular high school, because the summer school is like the surrounding towns all collectively go to the summer school, so you see people from different schools and stuff. And then I think it was junior or senior year of high school, I took a college course. It wasn't actually a college course, it was just a class that would happen to be at a college. It was the local community college, and it was a automobile collision repair class. So you learn how to like wet sand and bondo and fix some body work on a car. And it was actually pretty good for me, because first of all, it got me out of the regular high school, because I would leave at like 12:30, 1 o'clock p.m. and I would either take the bus to the college, or I would just drive myself to the college. And it was nice because it was a different crowd of people. It got me out of the high school for half the day, and it was more of a hands-on type of of learning. So what they did was they would bring in an old car, like an old beater car from the junkyard, and we would have to fix it up, not mechanically, just the body work. So you'd have your own little piece of fender that you'd work on, and it was actually pretty nice. I think that's what probably saved me from getting in even more trouble during high school, is that I got to leave and go to a different place. But man, a lot of road noise today, it seems like. So anyway, high school, yes, I did graduate high school. Thank you. And there was some people. There was a guy. He was a Greek kid, and his family was in the restaurant business. Obviously, not obviously, but stereotypically. And whoa, buddy. And so he dropped out of high school, and he started his own business. He worked in the restaurant business. He had a what are those one places called where it's like you buy, like they sell like adult stuff. You can go buy like adult lingerie and adult toys and this and that and the other thing. He worked with his uncle with one of those stores and created his own store. But now he went back and got his GED, I believe. But he's super successful, like real estate guy now, and he owns his own restaurants. And some people are just entrepreneurs, you know. Some people are just meant for the business side of life, and you know, college is for some people. Dropping out of high school is for other people. I mean, there's so many successful people in this world that you hear that never even finished high school. You know, they're just on a different career path than most people, which is fine. There is nothing wrong with dropping out of high school, not going to college, and starting your own business and being successful in this world. I mean, I would definitely recommend you get your GED, but you know, the way we think of schooling and how things should progress That's just a guideline. That shouldn't be set in stone. So anyway, yeah, after high school, during high school, I guess I never talked about all the jobs I've had. I had a bunch of jobs. I have always had a job. I mean, started with a paper route when I was a little kid, and even during like junior high and high school, I would do detasseling, which is working out in the cornfields. And I used to bale hay and work at people's farms. And, you know, I remember baling hay for one guy. We delivered it to a family, and then they recognized my work ethic and said, hey, why don't you come work for us on the weekends doing stuff around the house and around the farm? I said, okay. So me and Kurt actually worked for this couple, and we painted their house. It was, you know, it was crazy. We'd bale hay. I would shovel horse manure. I worked for a guy. I used to ride after school. I used to get on my bike and ride to his house, and I was just kind of like his hired hand, you know. I would just do whatever that needed to be done around the farm. He had a horse farm, and I would mostly just clean horse manure. And I painted a fence. He was a strange guy. He was definitely a strange guy. And he had this old white Cadillac. And it was a pretty nice car, but it had some rust holes. He's like, here, come on over here, young laddie. He's like, we're gonna fix up these rust holes on my Cadillac. I said, okay. And he hands me a caulking gun. I said, okay. I'm like, 15 years old. This is before I had a license. 14 years old, probably. He's like, hands me a caulking gun. He's like, yeah. He's like, go ahead and squirt some of this stuff in all those rust holes, and we'll get it painted up real nice. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and then years later, I'm like, that wasn't right. That wasn't right at all. Like, you don't use a caulking gun to fill your rust holes. Anyway, so and I remember painting the fence. He had a huge wooden fence that went all the way around his property. And he's like, come on, today we're gonna paint the fence. And by us, he means me. And so we go into his garage, and he's got probably 30 paint buckets, all half full, old paint, all different colors. All of them were all different colors. You got some blue paint, you got some red paint, you got some black paint, you got some white paint, And he's like, come on, we're going to mix these all together, and we're going to come up with the color brown. I'm like, okay. So sure enough, we mix all this paint together in these big buckets, and we come up with the color brown. He's like, that's the color that my fence is going to be after you paint it. I said, okay, buddy. So he hands me this huge, the biggest brush I've ever seen, like a good 5-inch brush. He's like, come on, I'll teach you how to paint it. So I'm like painting, the fence, I'm like wax on, wax off kind of thing. I've seen the movie, He's like, no, that's not how a farmer paints a fence. And he takes the brush, he completely submerges it in the bucket, lifts it up, and there's paint going everywhere. He's like, that's how you paint a fence, and it's just dripping off. It's just completely covered, and then it's falling on the ground. He's like, see, it kills the grass below it, so I don't have to weed whack. I'm like, I don't know. This guy's something. But, so yeah, I painted the fence. But that was actually a pretty good job. He paid me, I forget how much he paid me, $10 an hour or something? And it was always like pulling teeth to get the money, and he always made me feel guilty. Like when he was writing the check, he would always like kind of make me feel guilty. And I'm like, dude, you see any rust holes in that Cadillac? No. You see that fence out there? I'm like, that's me. I'm like, you pay me. So, yeah, a lot of life lessons, I guess I learned. Character building, I guess. Whenever you find yourself in a situation where you're like, God, I wish I was dead right now instead of doing whatever I'm doing, it's character building. So use that to your advantage. But, yeah, and then when I got a car and stuff, you know, and after or during high school when you have a car, you can actually like drive to different jobs and fill out applications. I worked a myriad of jobs. I did the telemarketing thing, but it was like the opposite of telemarketing, where you wouldn't call people, people would call you. And then, so I'd answer the phone, be like, Chase Prestige, this is Matt, how can I help you? What's this charge on my credit card? What are you charging me? It's $25 a month. I never signed up for this. I'm like, oh, sir, that gets you money off of restaurants and this, that, and the other thing. You had to like sell them on it, you know? The thing that Chase would charge them, you know, unknowingly. Now you got to like sell them on the back end, you know? But mostly just angry people would call me, and I would have to deal with them. And, oh boy, that was something. But I think that, you know, talking on the phone with people, reading scripts, you know, I think that gave me skills to actually talk. And so maybe that helps me with the stream with videos. I have no idea. I'm sure it did somewhat, you know. But that was an interesting job. And I even worked on Sundays. And the thing about Sundays is no one is calling their credit card company on a Sunday. And since it was a matter of you just sit there and wait for people to call you, and it's Sunday, well, no one's calling you. So I remember I actually had an Xbox 360, and the place was just dead. There'd be like 3 or 4 employees, and that's it. And it was pretty easy going on a Sunday. And I remember I had an Xbox 360, and I bought they sell like those super little monitors that would like, it almost turned your Xbox into a laptop, where it would sit on top and then it would fold up. And it was tiny, man. It was tiny. Some phones now are bigger than the screen, and the resolution was horrible. But I didn't care, man. I was working, I was making money. I bought it, and I brought it to work, and I was playing SSX Tricky snowboarding game at work on Sundays. I would bring that in. It was crazy. So that's how dead it was. You'd get a call every once in a while, but maybe 3 or 4 calls during like a 4-hour shift. It was just a part-time job. And then I remember that job, they relocated to somewhere far away. I think it was actually somewhere in Rockford, kind of where I live now. And they gave you the option, do you want to transfer to Rockford, or do you want a severance package? I said, give me the severance package, because there's no way I'm driving all the way to Rockford. It'd be like an hour drive just for a crappy high school job, right? So I got a severance package, and it was pretty substantial for at the time, for being a high school kid. It was like $2,000 to $3,000 check that they sent me. I was like, holy crap. But then I had various jobs. I remember working at Quiznos for a total of like 45 minutes one time. I applied for a Quiznos job, and I thought I was going to be a sandwich artist, you know? I need to explore my creative side, and I'm going to be a sandwich artist. So I filled out the application. They said, you're hired. Fill out these forms, these tax forms and all that stuff. So I fill out all the tax forms. I'm like, sweet, I'm going to be making sandwiches today. They're like, you're going to work today. I'm like, all right, sounds good. I got nothing better to do. So I fill out all the forms. And they're like, okay, great. Let's go back in the kitchen. You can start washing dishes. I'm like, okay, bye. And I just left. So, I mean, I don't know how it is now today. I know the unemployment's super low, but back then you could get a job without even trying. So I was like, screw this. I wanted to make sandwiches, not wash dishes. So I'd get another job. I worked at another telemarketing place, and that was legit telemarketing, where you had to call people. That was the worst job I've had. It was so bad. I used to call people and try to convince them that they need True Green. You know True Green? They come and fix your lawn and take care of your lawn and cut your grass and fertilize and weed control and all that stuff. And the worst thing about that job, and the reason I walked out of that job, is because you would log into the phones. And if you're logged into the phones, it would start logging your hours and you would get paid. But then they would always stop you like 2 to 3 to 4 times per shift and have like a 20-minute conversation about like pumping you up and like rah, like it would be like, come on, we gotta sell, come on, you gotta do better and this and that. And they would like, it'd be like a pick me up. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not getting paid when I'm logged off the phone. This is ridiculous. So after a while, I'm like, screw this. And they said, okay, everyone log off your phone. I logged off, grabbed my stuff, and said, goodbye, I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. And I just walked out. That was the best. That was the best, man. That was a great feeling. If you never walked out of a job where like, there's like 30 people in the call center, and they're all like, what's this guy doing? I'm like, goodbye. I'm like, I'm done. And so that was a lot of fun. And and then I started getting real jobs. Like I worked at Monsanto, the experimental division of Monsanto. And we used to plant like experimental corn. Supposedly, from what I know, from what I hear, none of it was GMO, but it was all in the hybrid section. Hybrids and GMOs are different. So it was interesting. It was a full-time gig. This was after high school, and it was my first actual like wake up in the morning, be at work at 7 a.m. I'd work 7 to 3:30 just like I do now, and it was a real job. I mean, I'd work overtime and I would drive a truck. We'd go to locations. We'd plant corn. In the winter we would do all like the scientific stuff of like getting the corn, and after we harvested it, we'd dry it out, we'd shell it, we'd count it. It was a lot of counting and putting corn in the little packets and bags and numbering and labeling and storing. And we had a big cold room we'd store corn in, and they were just looking for data. So that was my first actual real job. And then not too long after that, my friend Kurt, best friend Kurt, worked at the place I'm working at now as a driller. And he said, hey, they're hiring people off the street. You should go in there and get hired. So I said, okay. So sure enough, I got the job. And then like a month later, they went full bore union. So I was a journeyman right off the bat because I'd already worked there. So that was their idea, is to hire some people off the street and then go union so they could have their choice in hiring people. So, and boy, that was a lot of learning on the job for sure. And here we are today. So I don't know. I gotta. This is the end of the podcast. I gotta go, but. Yeah, I did take one semester of community college after high school, by the way, but it never panned out to anything. I just started working, and that's the way that goes. I'm actually glad I never did go to a big 4-year college and have all that college debt. And considering the job I have now, I just didn't need it. Am I doing what I love? Not necessarily. Am I getting a nice, lucrative paycheck? Yes, of course, Is it a career? I guess it's considered a career. I mean, I've been doing it for 15 years. But anyway. So maybe I'll wrap this up the next podcast. Maybe I'll forget about what I said. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Subscribe if you liked it. By the time this goes live, check out my previous video because it's a Ferrari race. So if you like actual racing and not me just rambling, check out the Ferrari race. That should be live right now by the time this uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be safe out there. I love you.